Well, in today's video, we're going to look at a couple of things. One, we're going to have a look at a very interesting area, the Greater Laggan Area, which is west of the Shetland Islands in the Faroe Shetland Basin, offshore the United Kingdom. So that's a really fascinating story to have a look at that development that is operated by TotalEnergies. The second thing we're going to have a look at, well, we're going to show the power of TROVE Hub Analysis. It's a very, very powerful tool, and I think as we go through the Greater Laggan story, you'll see that that can be applied just about anywhere throughout Northwest Europe. So here is the report that we did back in 2020, and it was for the hub analysis of the Greater Laggan Area. Here's the executive summary, but we're just going to really look at the figures. So here, introducing the area, here we are west of Shetland. Here is the Shetland Islands, the Glenlivet terminal, and we can see here's the Faroe Shetland Basin, and the fields we're going to be talking about today are Laggan, Tormore, Edradour and Glenlivet, and they're all part of the Greater Laggan Area. Now to the southwest here you can see Shetland and Foinaven. Here's the huge Clarefield, but this is an area of predominantly gas fields. So this is another setting that we put in a little bit of geology background just to show the Faroe Shetland Basin here, and just really looking at all the wells in the area, and in particular looking at Laggan and Tormore, and this is from within our TROVE data set for Northwest Europe, and just identifying that they're really sort of quite typical fields in terms of pressure, temperature. They're normally pressured, and also quite a range of porosity versus depths as an average for these. But Laggan and Tormore are actually they're sort of at the higher end of the porosity expectation for the depth that they are at. We go through some of the history and look at some of the fields, talk about the infrastructure, and we borrow maps here showing the layout of the field. Here's the Tormore manifold here, being kind of tied back to Laggan, and then eventually we've got Edradour and Glenlivet manifolds over here. This diagram shows the sort of Laggan and Tormore coming from around about 600 meters depth, coming up the continental slope here, and the fluids from Glenlivet and Edradour actually join about halfway up that slope. So there has to be a forward flow from Laggan and Tormore all the time to keep the fluids moving up. Then we get onto the shelf here, and we travel for quite some distance. I think that's for about 80 kilometers, and then it goes up onshore and to the Glenlivet gas processing plant, the Shetland gas plant, I beg your pardon. So what we do in hub analysis is we look at all the fields, and here's the life of field, the gas production profile for each of the four fields, and you can see they're all on the same scales to see, so they can just be directly compared, with a cumulative production actually put in here as well. Then we do the same for the condensate, but we then stack them, and this is where it becomes very useful. So here's Laggan here at the bottom coming on, and then Tormore followed by Edradour and Glenlivet just around about the same time. You can see that they peaked here back in around about May to September 2016, and these two fields have been declining quite steadily. There was an infill well here at Laggan which has picked up the profile somewhat, some incremental reserves added there, and we can see Glenlivet and Edradour, and overall the hub has been on a decline here for quite some time. That's the condensate picture. So what we do then, we can actually take all of these and we use a decline curve analysis technique to actually extrapolate out the production profiles. This is the actual, and this is it projected from around about 2020. Now what we actually do is we actually show it for both gas and condensate, and we put it on various, this is a log scale, so we see a straight line, but also showing the fit. So we want people to see the quality of the decline curve fit. We then come up with an ultimate recoverable reserves and remaining reserves, which is dated. So Tormore, Edradour, Glenlivet, we see them all there, and we actually then plot those decline curves. Now, we don't actually have an economic cut-off on here, so these are technical cessation of production. So Tormore probably going to around about 2027, Edradour to 2032, and if Laggan was left alone, it would actually go out to 2039. And I think Glenlivet also goes out quite some distance. But obviously it would become economic at some point, and that would be something that the operator would be looking at. So what we do here is we look at the surrounding discoveries and we list them in the order that they are away from. We've centered it on Laggan, and we just look how the increasing distance away. We look at the resource size. We don't always have them, so there are a few gaps in here. And we look at the fluid type. Now we've kind of covered this one up. We've held this back, but if people want that information, they can come and talk to us. Then what happens is, with those contingent resources, this the crosshairs here would be the location of Laggan Field, and we actually measure the distance away from there. Now, back in 2020, I think Glendronach was considered to be quite a sizable discovery. The appraisal drilling was somewhat disappointing, and then this is shown with the Clare Field. And again, we've just put the 50-kilometre radius around to identify all the fields in that region. So then again, part of the hub analysis, we actually look and see just how far away these things are. So you can see here's Torridon, here's Glendronach, which at the time was cited as a 200 million barrel discovery, but I think it's a lot less than that now. And really what you can see is that you have to get out of the order of 35 kilometres before you get to Glendronach, and then 40 or more kilometres before you get to these other discoveries. And Rosebank, which is being considered for development with an FID expected late 2022 at sort of 47 kilometres away from Laggan. But we've done it here, as I say, for the Laggan location, but equally we could have done it for any of these inline T's in the pipeline back to the Shetland gas plant. So if we wanted to, we could actually show it for this point here, or indeed for this point here, and how Victory might come in, and for that matter any of the discoveries to the north of here. We've done the same for prospects, and I'm just going to zoom in a little bit there, and you can see that we've actually looked at the closest 20 prospects here, and they start around about 15 kilometres away and go out to about 42 kilometres away. The sizes, these are the unrisked prospective resource sizes, and the fluid, and we actually again have covered that up, but in essence, this is the material here. That these are the prospects, and these are the unrisked resources in and around the region. And you can see that there is an area up to the northeast which should be kind of considered, and perhaps revisit and look at some of the prospectivity in this region here. And likewise, some of these opportunities were in the past considered to be potentially quite large. The remaining reserves and ultimate recoverable reserves have been assessed for all the 4 producing fields in the Greater Laggan Area. We can get that information downloaded and updated at any time. Ullage does indeed exist in the Greater Laggan Area pipeline system. There is significant development potential with existing discoveries and prospects in the catchment area. And hub analysis should be considered for, if not all, at least some of the T's on the GLA pipeline system. Plans to develop Glendronach, well, we'll see. Victory with Corunnion should be closely monitored. That's what we were saying back then. Additionally, the Torridon and North Laggan discoveries merit further examination when considering GLA third-party business opportunities. And I think really that's all we want to say at this time. We're no longer in the office there, so we're kind of we're working virtually now. But other than that, please get in touch. Here's my email address. Here's the website, telephone number, and if you need to, get in touch and find out more about the hub analysis. Thank you for listening. Bye for now.